Good morning. Happy February 1st. well, before we get going too far, I just want to say that we're going to talk about a new operating system and sort of what to do with that fray, what to do with that loudness that's out there. Because last week was intense, right? We talked about building this up to what was going to happen um, last Sunday. And what I'm thinking is that this week is even louder and in different ways. So maybe you felt agitation or continued exhaustion and you thought, oh, maybe this would just be over after the end of January. No, not really. There may even be days when nothing obvious is happening and you can't figure it out, but the energy and the chaos is intense. So here's what we've been challenged with. And so I'm going to run down some of the things that we've experienced in this last week, in addition to the integration and the ice storms and all the things that were going on, right? Is that yesterday we had a series of M class flares. And I wanted to show you, I printed this out because it's easier to show you that we sort of went along really low. This is a B, then, C, C, C. And then you can just see how it started to build up and then it just peaked up here at the X. And if you go down to the chart at the bottom, you can see that we just went along on a very low level. And then all of a sudden this came out. So I printed this off. This was from about 7 o'clock this morning, Mountain Time, right? So we had 4 M class flares yesterday that peaked in at X1.04. And that was at 5:33 this morning, Mountain Standard Time. And I noticed that now we're bumping around between M2s and M5s. So I'm not sure that we're done with the agitation or if it's settling. Time will tell. Pam Youngins will keep us posted on Facebook. She's one of my greatest resources. In addition to that, we're only days into Neptune being in Aries. And we've talked about what happens when 14 years of a certain energy crosses over into a new first sort of I am energy of Aries. And we'll talk about that. The interesting one is that Saturn is now at 29 degrees, that anoretic, that intense completion phase. So you're going to feel your Saturn purposes being twisted and crunched a little bit. We are still integrating the geomagnetic storm that happened between January 19th and 20th, that 48 hours. It's still waving. Waves of energy are still coming in and still keeping us in the integration phase, if that makes sense. Beyond that, we have some political narratives that in the country, in the world, that are escalating. We have financial systems that are being visibly manipulated, of course. And underneath it all, our collective nervous system is fatigued. That's what I want us to realize. Our nervous system is fatigued at this time. What that might feel like for you is that you felt restless, you felt achy, heavy, foggy, activated, impatient, or oddly alert at strange hours, as we've shared often, being wide awake in the middle of the night or thinking, all I want to do this afternoon is lay down and take a nap, just a half an hour nap. And, excuse me, the second you put your head down, you're wide awake and you have to sit back up and then you're tired and you just sort of are trying to figure out what your body needs. And this isn't personal failure and it isn't a lack of progress. It's our bodies responding to pressure from multiple systems all at the same time. And many of these systems are divisive, all competing for our attention. So, scrolling on social media, watching the mainstream news, trying to sort of understand what's going on is just going to keep that divisiveness going. So today isn't about explaining everything. There's no way to go through that. I just wanted to touch and validate for you. Those are actually things we are feeling and knowing because this is about orientation. Because right now, what will serve you most isn't more information. We don't need more information. It's learning how to stay coherent and embodied while things are reorganizing around you. So let's talk about what I call a new operating system for embodiment. So I want to say this really, really clearly. We are learning a new operating system for embodiment one that is no longer reliant on pressure, vigilance, or force. Our system is based on rhythm, discernment, and trust in our body's intelligence. The old operating system is saying, push through it, endure, override your body, and stay alert at all costs. And that system worked until it didn't. And it doesn't work anymore, as we know. It doesn't work for us the way that it used to. So, what's emerging now doesn't reward urgency or over effort, it responds to presence. So this operating system is grounded, it's embodied, it's holding presence. And and this is where astrology and solar activity and embodiment work. Um, that they work together and they converge. I sort of had a little blip in my head for a minute because I'm noticing that I've got a little bit of a cough or something going on, and it's a little agitating trying to hold presence with you and sort of deal with all of this bubbling around in my throat, wanting to cough, etc. So let's talk about Neptune in Aries because, you know, it's beautiful because we've spent 14 years in Pisces dissolving boundaries, identities, beliefs, illusions, and projections. And in that era, especially those of us who are sensitive, empathic skills, all of our clairs are working. We were trained, a lot of us, to merge and to absorb, to spiritually bypass, or to look outside of ourselves for meaning, to try to stay on top of how to expect what might be coming. But now that Neptune's entered Aries, Aries is that I am energy. It's that first breath, it's that identity, it's self-directed movement. And Alexander Quinn put it really well. He said, "We are choosing now which parts move forward with us." So if you haven't watched his latest update, he gives us a timeline for January and into March. Or January, February, now that we're in February, into March, and says most of this change is going to start at the end of March. So that not everything we've learned or endured or carried is meant to cross this new threshold. It's kind of cool. It's like I just moved. I just settled into the house that I bought, I've emptied my storage, and I brought some pieces up from my parents' home, and I'm sort of looking at it all and saying, I don't need to keep any of it, or I can keep all of it, or I get to discern what stays and creates this Cancer, kind of home that I've been wanting to create for decades. So, not everything is meant to cross the threshold. That this choice isn't mental, it's somatic. So your body's going to let you know. It's going to tell you what no longer fits, what drains you, what ignites you, what steadies you. And if something feels like it requires constant vigilance to maintain, it likely isn't going to make it into the next phase of your life. You can count on that. So, I want to talk about the moon phases because we are at the full moon today, right? I think it's at 3:09 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, right? So when I talk about the moon phases, I often describe them as like a production of a play. There's the idea that drops in, there's the preparation, the rehearsal, there's the full moon, the performance, like all the lights are on, and it's just like, wow, let's go see what's going to happen. And then there's the part that people forget, which is the integration, the settling of the accounts, the putting things back together, sort of closing it off, assessing it, thanking everybody. And so, I also have shared with you that when I do these moon phases with tarot cards, they are often telling me what to talk about with you, almost more than they're telling me. Well, they're telling me what information I need to know, but they're also saying, and this is very valuable, you should pass this on. And I'm like, okay. So, as we were going on the gibbous, the phase right before, sort of the dress rehearsals, the excitement, the energy, getting things ready, we were in the seven. I'm going to say we were all in this seven of discs energy, which is failure. Like, I can't see what's going on. I don't feel good. It's not working. But when I look at the light seers version of this, it's like, he's looking at this tiny little plant and he has no idea the depth of what's happening under here. And I love the way that Thoth, that the Crowley deck, says that all of what we're trying to see is hidden behind peacock feathers, and we have to trust this. And these are the sevens; these are the sacred, magnificent sevens. So as we were going into this full moon, we were doubting ourselves. We were full of failure, and then, or full of not failure, full of the old energy of failure, which is like, what if it doesn't work, right? But at the full moon, we're in the 8 of discs. And it's super interesting because this disc pattern started to really talk to me about embodiment, right? And they went in this order: 7, 8, 6. So the 8, this is called prudence. This is where we start to manifest, things start to show up, and we start to go like at, as in with this one, we start to see the blossoms coming, and we're like, the plant actually is going to grow. It's actually going to produce something. But I love the way that the light series shows this is like, wow, I've got some energy. It's time to put some things out there that I really want to do. And the way that Osho says, and be very grounded and slow and methodical about how you take care of things, which goes to this prudence card, right? And then the last one after the full moon, the disseminating, is the 6 of discs, which is called success, which is where all the systems are firing and it was successful and it worked. And I want us to know that this is how we begin. And in the way that I would put this is circulate what we've learned, what we know. So the 7 is that I can't force and I can't go into doubt. The 8 of discs is I need to tend what's real with care. This is where we're at the full moon right now. What's real, we tend with complete care. And then the 6 of discs is that, now it's time to circulate all of this on into the world. What I'm learning about myself, who I am, what I know, my Aries, I am energy, right? So this shift is from will-based management, which is, I have to produce, I have to do this, I have to do that. And it's moving into trust-based embodiment, which is another part of this operating system. We have to be able to trust in our embodiment because that's unwinding you and taking you, sort of through the collapse and exhaustion, but it's not. It's decompression after all of the decades and centuries of human long-term vigilance. It's the release of the density in this 3D that has held us so hard. So the gripping that we're releasing is very intelligent and it's well honed, and it's part of releasing this old system because there's no place for us to judge, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? No, we're just simply releasing some of these old traits that used to, this hypervigilance overlay that used to make us feel like we were in survival work all the time, right? So this day, as our daily management relaxes, right? What replaces it isn't chaos, even though it's chaotic outside. It's rhythm. It's that internal guidance rhythm. So Lee Harris, talked a lot about this collective fatigue, the nervous system fatigue in his February update. He said our nervous systems are tired, not because we're weak, but because we've been carrying more than was sustainable. And I love that. It's like, thank you, Lee, because many of us default to protecting, monitoring, tracking, helping, holding others, making sure our kids, our spouses, our community, our extended family are all safe and happy. And we forget about ourselves and our nervous system. But this month asks something different of us. It asks you, what actually regulates you? What restores your coherence? Because Aries is that I am. Because regulation is not selfish right now, it's stabilizing. And when more people stabilize, then the field stabilizes, which is why we as empaths, as sensitives, as intuitive beings, right? When we anchor into ourselves, we stabilize our field. We also stabilize the earth. So what we're really bringing right now isn't ways to strategically raise our frequency, but to keep it coherent without effort or defense. And we'll explore more as our systems fully settle. And next week I want to talk about frequency health. But I don't want us to go there. We don't need to think of anything that we have to do right now. All I want us to do is keep feeling this rhythm and saying, who am I? What helps me stay coherent to myself? Make sense? So I have 6 core, hardcore permissions for us this week. I really wanted to go down and say, this is where we have to be able to give ourselves permission. So feel into these as I say them and find out which one pulls on your body or which ones. And there, I believe you can transcribe these from the video, and maybe I think I'll put them in the description so you can find them. I'll add them when I get down here. Okay. Before I go to the permissions, I want to speak specifically to the Patreon channel that I have, because it's free to go on and read the collection of insights and posts that each of our members are making. And then for a paid membership of $11 a month, you can come onto the discussion group. And the discussion group meets every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time for 75 minutes. And we sort of been learning how to play round robin, which is like, let's put a topic out there and share our experiences and support one another. So it's just a place where community across the globe can be accessed. If that's something that you would like, by all means, come join. So let's go to these fabulous permissions, right? So the first permission, I give myself permission to disengage from urgency without explaining myself. Disengage completely without any explanation, because urgency is not truth. Urgency is just how distorted systems hijack our attention. So I owe myself coherence and not immediacy. So number 1, permission to disengage from urgency, right? Number 2, I give myself permission to let my body veto plans, narratives, and expectations. Like, nope, not doing that. So if my body tightens, or if it drains, or if it goes quiet, this is all information. And so as we are holding our nervous system and our field in coherence, we pay attention to when it tightens, when it drains, when it goes quiet, when it gets agitated. And I don't need to override it to appear to others to be functional or loyal. Nope. Nope. I'm just vetoing it, that all plans, narratives, and expectations from the outside world, I give myself permission to let my body veto those. Isn't that cool? Number 3, I give myself permission to stop processing what doesn't belong to me. So as empaths, we've absorbed. We've been stuck in I wonder why they're doing that. How can I help? What can I do? So that constant looping of processing. And so what we want to do is we want to stop the absorption, because awareness, just because we're aware of something doesn't mean that we're obligated to do anything about it. And that I can witness what's going on with you in that little crazy show you got over there without carrying it. And it's wonderful to have compassion, and we'll go down to that with what they're going through, but not to get in there and try to hold it or feel it, and to actually seal off ourselves from not processing what does not belong to us. Number 4, I give myself permission to slow decision making until my system is settled. This is key. We want to slow decision making time down right now, because clarity doesn't arrive in this coherent field under pressure. It arrives when the body feels safe enough to listen, safe enough to feel, safe enough to sort of go, oh, I can relax now. And if you spend any time with a nervous child, or if you've been meeting people for the first time, you sort of go in a little like, So what we want to do is just not make any decisions or put ourselves in a situation until our nervous system is settled, right? Permission number 5, I give myself permission to trust subtle signals over loud narratives. Now, Lee Harris talked about this, looking for numbers, looking for shivers down your back, looking for repetitive messages that are quieter, steadier, and internally consistent. Things you notice. Oh, I just picked that up again. Oh, I'm picking up this repetitively. And this is how my body is perceiving. And this is how me and my body are working together. So what helps is what happens is that is distorted starts to feel really loud and frantic and mentally demanding. And you're like, oh, no, don't want to do that. So our body knows the difference. So we give ourselves permission to trust those subtle signals so that we are actually listening to our body. And number 6, the final one, I give myself permission to use compassion as a stabilizing force, not a bypass. Compassion doesn't mean not tolerating, or doesn't mean tolerating harm and not doing anything. It steadies our field and it steadies our power right now. So compassion is that internal, I understand, I'm paying attention, I'm seeing what they're experiencing. It does not mean that I need to step in. It means I need to send their field, you got this, you can do this. So this is how we stabilize ourselves and each other. So in closing, the most important thing is to trust the body's intelligence, because we're not falling apart. Our world is not falling apart. We are recalibrating. Our body is learning how to operate without frenzy, without bracing, without erratic behavior. Our body is also learning that we don't need to predict what's coming. We don't need to explain everything. We only need to listen more carefully to the intelligence already moving through you, or intelligences, I like to say, right? So thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing embodiment right now as the most important thing that we can do. So I have a journal prompt for you, and I've placed it down in the description as well. So when everything feels loud, emotionally, energetically, or in the world at large, the instinct is often to seek answers and explanations or fix it, right? So if we want to go to this journal prompt, let's just drop in and say, where am I responding to urgency instead of listening to my body? And what is possible if I choose steadiness instead? And if you really want to work on that, one thing that you can do is you can put your hand on your heart and you can write that answer and see if it deepens it. So thank you for being here. I hope I see you on Tuesday. If not, I will see you next week. Take care.